Hey guys, so remember what I said when I said I was going to just continue using Crunchyroll for for ReZero reviews? Well, that kind of turned into a little bit of a problem this week because Crunchyroll's just being stupid. But with that said, pretty much out of the gate, I loved this chapter for honestly no other reason than Shiki was forced to make a very difficult choice this week. Choice in this chapter, like he either had the choice to either stay on the planet and risk everyone dying, or leave the planet and save themselves. And what makes Shiki's singular important choice so good in this chapter is that up to this point, the latter choice of from just from of saving everyone has always been of the latter option of just leaving the planet and and leaving everyone else to die. It's been an option that Shiki has refused to accept. Like, to him, it's a non-option. Just letting people die is just no. It is he refuses to accept that as anything as an option at all. And up to this point as well, Shiki has always found ways in which he can subvert those odds. But what Ziggy did in this chapter, he ultimately forced Shiki's hand. She forced Shiki to choose in doing in making a singular choice. So it's the first time that, and because of that, in a lot of ways, you could say that this is the first time that Shiki has been forced to admit defeat. I mean, yeah, ultimately he he did defeat Shura. I'm not gonna discount that, but Ziggy was the one with the ultimate card to play, and ultimately Shiki had to say it's over. We've lost this one, and he didn't say that directly, but you can see it on his face. He was forced to admit that this was a defeat for them, and and let's talk about that decision as well, the decision he ultimately made, because I not only respect the fact that Mashima didn't fall back on Rebecca's power by having her awaken her overdrive, although that could still happen depending on what happens in the future. But I'm not entirely buying Ziggy's rationale that Shiki made the wrong choice either. A difficult one, to be sure. Don't get me wrong. Like, you can tell that Shiki's choice right now is in some ways is tearing him up to make that choice. But because remember what Zhao Mei said at the beginning of the chapter. There was only remember what Zhao Mei said to telepathically through Shiki. She told him that there was only one path that led to survival. The other path led to everyone's destruction. And combining that with what Xiao Mei had said at the beginning of the chapter, it's not so much the choice that matters, but how Ziggy lives with that choice. How Ziggy going forward is going to act and react. Like again, this to me is the ultimate. This to me is the perfect. Why this choice is so perfect to me is because it's the first is because this is the first time that Shiki has known defeat. It's also the first time this is a choice that will live for him for pretty much the rest of his life going forward, and it's going to impact a lot more of his decisions as well beyond this point. Like, Shiki, I think I think the one thing Shiki is going to learn from this is that he isn't going to be as reckless, and he isn't going to just jump in willing. He is going to make very thoughtful, and he's going to make a lot more careful decisions, I think, going forward. Like this isn't just going to be a simple this decision is going to impact everything Shiki does going forward, and I love it for that. With that said, let's talk about the ending of the chapter, where Witch is fully revived and ready to unleash her full power as the Shield of Edens. Which, first off, Rebecca and Happy just said what I've been saying all along, which is the mom of the group, and I love how bashful she is about it. Like, she's been acting that way without even realizing it, and only after someone mentions it outright does she kind of more or less realize it herself. I just kind of love that. Like, yeah, she is the mom of the group. That aside, though, with Witch saying nothing will happen to the ship or its crew as long as the shield is still alive, that last page in itself definitely indicates we're about to see Witch use a power she probably hasn't told anyone about, not even Ziggy. Otherwise, I don't think that Witch would be so confident in thinking that she could override Ziggy's control of the ship. Now, what that power is obviously the big question. And personally, I think whatever power she uses, the only thing that makes sense right now is something that'll completely lock Ziggy's control out and render him unable to hack the Eden Zero at all going forward. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a point to whatever she's about to do. Or I guess if Mashima is planning to put a like Mashima's been doing good at putting limitations on things. So if Mashima is planning to put a limitation on this power that Witch is about to use, maybe it'll only lock out Ziggy long enough for them to escape. But I think, yeah, that's kind of going to be a big thing, is that it's a power that is going to be able to lock Ziggy out of control of the Eden Zero at this point. Now, with that said, let's talk about the one problem I do still have with this chapter, which is seeing as how this is more or less the climax of the Nero 66 arc. I'm forced to once again shit on the Interstellar Union Army, which, granted, if I were judging their individual contributions in this arc, they've definitely done a lot more and actually done their fucking jobs correctly, comparably to any other previous instance in the series. But even then, most of the credit I can give to the Interstellar Union Army goes to Jaguar and Eraser. Like, aside from that, Justice had literally no freaking point to being here other than to bring the reinforcements. And while you could say Oasis didn't do much either, they still did more and had more of a purpose to this arc than Justice. Like, honestly, I'm sorry. I know Justice is an easy mark to pick on, and he is, but unfortunately, that's because Justice is in some ways the one weak point that Mashima really needs to improve on. Like, Justice has, like, at this point, he has no point for being in the story than being the dumbass of the Irashian States Interstellar. Like, I'm sorry. When Justice was when Hermit showed up saying everyone needs to evacuate, the planet is going to explode, and Justice was like, "You can trust these people?" I'm like, "Yes, trust them, you fucking dumbass. Get the fuck out of Dodge." Like, I'm sorry. Like, Justice kind of infuriates me. Like, I'm sorry. I like a lot of the other characters, but Justice, fuck you, dude. Seriously, fuck you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know it's kind of I'm kind of getting maybe overly mad at Justice, but it's like, I'm sorry, the writing for this dude is insanely bad in some ways. And also, I guess the other problem, although less of one, is I'm sure it's something that there are things that will be addressed further down the line in the next chapter or in a couple arcs down the road, is that this chapter has kind of left it really open-ended in terms of couple head counts missing from this equation. Like, Creed, I guess you can kind of count as dead, and we count as dead at this point, which, if he is dead for permanent, I do like that, because it gives Hermit motivation in order to carry on what he wants to do in pretty much changing the dynamics and how the customs of their planet work. So I like how his death is forcing her to carry on his will, kind of thing. And I guess we can, but we also still haven't gotten a head count on what exactly happened to Ajuna. Although considering Shura also ended up MIA very quickly in this chapter, I've definitely got a pretty good idea as to what happened. And if that is the case, then Ajuna's story really is one of pure tragedy. Like, the tragedy of her story just continues in an endless looped cycle. And honestly, with Ajuna, I hope one day she just finds peace for herself in one form or another. I don't know. I hope she finds peace. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on Twitter, Anna's Crunchyroll. Be sure to hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, everyone.